Hello and welcome to Resilient Automotive. Today got a fun one for you. We're working on a 1994 Mitsubishi Montero. Specifically, it has a fast idle problem. It wants to just hang around 2100 RPM all the time. So some of the diagnostics that we have already done today is we are going to check out the MAF. I've already completed a smoke test on the intake itself, and so far we're looking good. So we've done that, but I have a possible option that it could be, and this is going to be the fast idle valve. So right here we have the idle control valve, which is brand new, and then we have 3SX solution possibly to our problem, which is their bypass and or block off plate. So in this case I went with the bypass plate, which is still going to have the ports to allow us to use our intake air control valve. It includes the gasket, the block off plate itself, and some brand new hardware. So I've already got the throttle disassembled. You're gonna see the old gasket here. This is where coolant is actually being introduced into the throttle to warm this all up to help the vehicle idle better, especially under cold temperatures. So here is the fast idle assembly. So this is what we're going to be modifying in hopes that it helps us solve our fast idling problem. The throttle position sensor, that doesn't seem to be the problem or the issue. We are getting a little bit of, in the smoke test prior to the intake, we are getting some smoke bypassing. It looks like this throttle package and linkage, and bypassing here. So we may ultimately have an issue with the throttle itself. I have cleaned it up just with your typical throttle body cleaner. So we have done just some basic maintenance on this to clean all this out. We have the idle control screw and bypass port right there. We've gone through and cleaned a lot of this stuff up and reinstalled it before getting to this point. So I would recommend doing that as well, is just give this a quick cleanup to see if that solves your problem. So this is how you can see how it normally sits. These are with the bolts out. That port right there, here we go, that is your idle air control valve. That's where that normally sits. I'm gonna take a little more time to clean this guy out, get rid of really any carbon deposits, try to keep those seats nice and clean. But in here are some of the guts. So here's the old gasket. You can actually see a little bit of coolant still chilling in there. And then these are the ports that correspond to idle that will still be able to bypass and be controlled by the idle air control valve. Besides that, you can see the throttle blade. Oh, it's actually stopped right now because it's in my vise. But we've cleaned all that up. Next up is the install. We're gonna put in a new gasket and then place the bypass plate onto the throttle body. So keep in mind when you're working on the fast idle air valve section, on the lower portion that's introducing the coolant, what I noticed with all of these is they are quite tight and in there, so you're gonna want to be careful on removal. I would put some type of like PB blaster or something in there in order to help to remove these bolts / screws, whatever you want to call them. Here's some of the new hardware that we're going to be installing. Here's that little tab I was just telling you about. It's just tiny, tiny, tiny little screw that is really easy to mash up the head on these little guys. So keep that in mind during removal. So here we have our throttle body just about ready to reinstall. We installed those new screws and hardware that came with the kit. I did it roughly in a star pattern, starting out here, across, up, over, and in, slowly tightening them, making sure that everything was flat, the gasket wasn't moving. So you can see right there, that is the bypass or the block-off plate installed. This really is fast, 5 minutes max. I was checking when I set the new gasket in there, I put in just a little bit of installation grease to help keep the gasket in place and not have it move around. You can also see that I have the air control valve installed. When I install this and doing some diagnostics, I'm actually going to keep this unplugged because I want to set this idle screw when I get this reinstalled. And we're gonna see, does this fix my fast idle air bypassing into the engine somehow, seemingly magically, on this Montero? Oh yeah, that is much better. We still have a few other small issues with this vehicle, but we've got the idle back down. I didn't need to remove and take the MAF out of the equation to get the idle to come on down. It's idling substantially better. So it looks like in this case, the 3SX fast idle bypass plate appears to be a part of the solution. Awesome, so this is exactly what I was hoping for. 3SX, I will give you the thumbs up. Please, if you have any additional comments, questions, or you just want to throw something in there to help with doing maintenance on these old first, second, and third gen Monteros, throw it down in the comments section. Would love to hear from the community. You guys have a great day.